I hate soccer.
Before we get into anything, what exactly do you guys do, especially in that front space? What do you run the training or?
So the technical portion, I
Yeah.
do most of the programming, and I run a good amount of sessions.
Yeah.
In the front, we do strength, speed, and agility.
Okay.
And I have a couple of trainers that have certifications. I think they have ESA certifications. Shane, who is currently in college, and then Irvin, they both have their certifications for that. So they handle most of the strength, speed and agility training.
Okay. How long have you been in business?
I believe April 2019 is when we signed the lease.
Oh God, right before COVID.
Right before COVID. So that was a lot of fun. So we think officially open in May 2019.
Okay.
And, thankfully throughout college, I had built a really good client base. And, I'd say I had about 40 to 50 clients that I was seeing weekly while I was in college. So when we opened, we already had the foundation. We already had the client base. So there wasn't too much an issue in that sense.
Yeah. Okay, fast forward 6 years, you get through COVID. How many kids is Evolution training per week right now?
So I would say right now, most kids are in the middle of their fall season, so this is probably our slow time.
Yep.
But
September, October.
Yeah, it slows down quite a bit. But I would say on an average week throughout the year, we get 250 to 300 bookings. And we probably train 1,200 kids a year in total, between camps and individual sessions and group sessions. But on average, we get about 250 bookings, a lot of them one-on-ones, a lot of them in small groups, and then some of them in large groups and classes.
Wow. Holy cow. 1,200 kids. What kind of camps do you guys do during the summer?
So we have not ran one of those traditional outdoor summer camps where I see some programs are getting like 70 to 150 kids. We've never done any of those. The camps that we have done have been here inside this facility, and we normally have blocks of 2 hours, and we get 16 kids in max.
Yep.
And those are usually more intended to be a really good, fun experience, and that's how we market that. We still have a lot of small-sided games. We still do drills, right? But they're not as involved and intricate as they are during our small groups and one-on-one sessions.
Got it.
So we normally have 3 to 4 camps throughout the year. We have one for back to school. We'll have one for Christmas, spring break, and I think that's one that's getting away from me. But those are usually the type of camps that we run. I think this summer we're going to try to have an outdoor camp.
Yeah. I waited. I was probably in business 5 to 7 years before we started our first one because I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do it in my own training facility. I do a lot of invite only stuff, so like I can control the
level.
The level. A lot of times I used to always think that summer camps were babysitting, and it was really just a form of daycare for some parents and some players. But I found that it's a good way to market to the kids that don't know like you yet. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So basically what I started doing was I did a couple camps. Then I invite the best players to invite only. And then that like built. So that's what I've been doing the last couple of years. But I mean,
I'm glad you took that step. To be honest, and I don't want to admit this in front of kids and families who've been watching, but I think doing outdoor camps have been a little out of my comfort zone. For the same reason that you said. Here with our small groups and one-on-ones, we have a certain level, we have a certain type of kids that we get. Yeah. So I always worry that if we do an outdoor camp and there are a lot of kids and we can't always control the level and who shows up, I'm worried about the quality, and our image and what we put out there. But it is something that we have to go out our comfort zone and give the opportunities to maybe players and families that might only be able to come to those summer camps to do. So I'm hoping to take that step just the same way that you did.
So, okay. What made you want to start your own technical training company instead of going the club route?
Great question. So in college, I was fortunate to have my first coach. He owns a local club team, and I needed a job in college, and he invited me to come and help out with one of the youth academies, one of those startup programs. And so I was working with kids that were ranging from 4 to 8 years old, and this was just instructional soccer. And so I'd go there. I'd have a ton of, I was given a pretty basic outline, and have a ton of fun with the kids. And I would just remember seeing the look on the face of a kid that would just learn how to do an L turn or a scissor or a V. And they'll be like, wow, this is insane. This is magic, And I just remember how much you can see them being so much more confident, and you can see them trying, and when it works, it made them so happy, So that just gave me a lot of pleasure and really made me fall in love with coaching. And I always showed a lot of passion when I did those instructional classes, and I think some parents noticed it, and a couple of parents asked me to work with their kids one-on-one. And from there, it pretty much took off, right? I started doing some one-on-one sessions. More people started to find out about it. Next thing you know, I'm doing some small groups, and next thing you know, we've got, we're working with 20, 30 kids. And so that's how I got into that.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Now, before we started, you were saying that coaching high school keeps you sane. Okay, so I have gotten questions every single year to start a club, and or do you miss team training and stuff like that? And for the longest time, or team coaching, really, I train teams, but I don't have a team. And for the longest time, I didn't miss the games, and I didn't miss the tournaments and stuff like that. And now, 10 years later, I'm kind of getting that itch, Go into that. Keeps you sane. How?
So since I got out of college, it's been almost daily individual training, daily, training in small groups, just developing players individually. And I'm still in love with it. It's great. It's still a lot of fun. I think my second year of opening, I got the opportunity to work with the JV team with Clarkson High School. I got hired as the head coach there, and I just did that during the fall. And I just fell in love with being part of a group, being able to lead in a different way, being able to develop players in a different way, and also just being able to see the demands of the game, and that's helped a lot with our programming here for our training program. So just getting that break as well during the fall, which the season is usually about 8 weeks. So being able to have 8 weeks where I get to be in a team environment, I get to have good relationship with players. That's allowed me to take a step back sometimes from private training, which I do pretty much every other month of the year.
Right.
So that's it changes the dynamic, right? Because I think if I was doing this 12 months a year, I think that I'd probably get pretty close to burning out, right, or getting a little tired of it.
Right. So when you're in here, how many one-on-one sessions can you do at the same time, or is it just one?
So most of the time, it's just one session. If we're working with younger kids, we can sometimes have a couple sessions going on at once, or we can even sometimes have a one-on-one and a small group. So we'll normally communicate really well as between us coaches as far as what we want to do.
Right.
Sometimes we'll split the field halfway, the short. Sometimes we'll split the long way. Sometimes one coach would take a small amount of space because we're just doing ball mastery, and and then the other coach can have a little more space to do something more functional. So we can have a couple sessions here at once.
Got it. Who? I'm going all over the place.
No,
who's the head coach, or who was the head coach at Clarkson for the boys?
So
these days.
I don't want to get sidetracked too much here because I can go on with this for like 20 minutes. So I'll tell you as much as you want to hear. You can stop me when you want.
How much time do you have?
So it's an amazing story, actually. Amazing story. So Ian Jones is the head coach at Clarkson.
Ian, yeah, okay.
And, you know, without Ian, I wouldn't be here. You know, a lot of people that have helped me through my life. But,
was he the youth coach that got you the college job during college?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So Ian, I was in foster care. Long story. I was in foster care, you know, when I was younger. And Ian's father-in-law was my case manager.
Okay.
So Steph's dad. So Davey would come, you know, and check in on me and make sure I was good, make sure I have everything I needed. And one day he saw me playing soccer in the backyard. And so I was probably about 11 years old at the time. And, you know, I was juggling. He's like, man, this guy, you know, this kid looks kind of good, you know.
Who's this kid?
So I'd played in Cameroon, you know, so I was pretty decent. And so Davey said, hey, you know, by the way, my son-in-law, he's got a club, you know, so like, would you maybe be interested in playing? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so Ian came to my backyard at my foster house and gave me a tryout there. You know, so like he just came to my backyard and we just did a few drills. You know, after 5 minutes, like, yeah, you know what? Come on, you know, you're part of the club. So my first team was called Michigan Striker. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Ian will come and drive me. He will pick me up. I think my house was in Southfield at the time. He will come pick me up, drive me to practices, drive me to games, right? Or when he wouldn't be able to do it, some of my teammates were. So I was very lucky to have that connection to get into organized soccer, you know, and from there, things really took off. And now I think it's full circle to be able to coach with him at Clarkson. I coached the JV team, and I'm his assistant on the varsity team.
Okay.
And, you know, and it's great. I've learned a lot from him as a coach, as a person. You know, he's been probably the most direct father figure in my life because I see him very often, and, you know, and he's been a great role model for me. And, you know, and for the next 3 weeks, we have a chance of winning a state championship. I hope it happens. You know, hopefully we can look back at this and it happens, because I think to me that would be just a complete full circle moment for him. And, you know, I'm doing everything I can with the training sessions, with the scouting, because he's done so much for me.
Right.
You know, I want to try to help him and the team as much as possible.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. So, okay, it's October 14th. Districts are coming up.
Yeah, so we've played our first game. You know, that was sort of, you know, it was, we were first seed, you know, against, I think, Flint. So
wait, districts are already going on right now?
Districts are going on. So our
Holy
second
cow.
game is today. Who
you guys playing?
Grand Blanc.
Ooh.
Grand Blanc, yeah.
Okay.
So Grand Blanc beat us last year. I think this year, you know, we've had the best regular season we've ever had.
Where's the game? Is it at Clarkson or
the game
at
is at
Grand Blanc?
Lapeer, unfortunately.
Ooh, okay.
Lapeer is the
My
host.
family, my parents, where I'm staying and whatnot, is in Oxford. But yeah, wow, okay. Interesting.
So Oxford and Lake Orion is the other game. So we'll play the winner of that game. And, you know, a rivalry game is always...
I went to Lake Orion.
No way.
Yeah.
Can't talk to you anymore, man. No,
Sorry.
Lake Orion, no. Lake Orion
Lake Orion and Clarkston.
Was Corteg there when you were there?
No, but I actually coached with Corteg.
Okay.
Coming up. Who was my coach? Randy McCoy, who just passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Randy McCoy. And then it was Eric Pfeiffer for a little bit, and then Corteg came in. Well, actually, it was Matt Pokovitz, and then Corteg, and I coached with Matt Pokovitz as well.
Curtis Payment was there at some point. You know about Curtis?
Curtis was?
Curtis Payment, yeah.
Yeah, I
think
know
right
Curtis.
Before Clarkson, he was at Lake Orion.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that 1 year. That's right. And then he went to Clarkston, right?
Yes. I coached his son. So many full circle stories.
Right.
So I coached his son, and
Okay.
he was coaching with me at Waterford Mott when I coached the girls in the spring. So.
Okay. Waterford Mott. Who is that Kettering? John Cadwalder? Well, no, that's on the girls' side. Or maybe he was a Mott. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, small world.
Yeah. So, wow. So tonight, Lake Orion and Oxford, and then it's Clarkston and Grand Blanc.
Yes.
Should be some good games. And
Really
that's
good games.
districts. That's ridiculous because you're in a gauntlet every single night. You know, after maybe, like, who did you play with, Pontiac?
The first game was Flint Carmen.
Oh, Flint Carmen Ainsworth.
Yes.
Pontiac doesn't have a high school anymore, right?
They do. They do have a team.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Wes is the coach there, and it seems like he's putting a lot of effort into it. I wouldn't consider them one of the powerhouses.
Of course.
But, I think they've been somewhat competitive in the OA Blue. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pontiac's still around.
And you guys are in the red?
Won the OA Red, and get this.
Who won the red this year?
We won the Red.
Clarkston?
First time in program's history. We did. So that was amazing.
Wow.
First time.
Because Athens has been, right? And so does Troy, right?
Yes. Wow. Athens won a few times. Rochester
Adams, of course.
They won the state title.
Do they still dye their hair and stuff for the playoffs?
I think so, man.
Jesus.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'll count our district. We've got 3 OA Red teams.
Yep.
Between us, Oxford, and Lake Orion.
How's that fair?
And then we've got Grand Blanc, which is traditionally a pretty strong team in their conference. And sometimes up here we'll have strong teams. That Flushing will have a strong team. So it's a pretty tough district,
right?
And
then you get East Kentwood that just basically sleepwalks through to the regional semifinals or finals. It's so frustrating.
Correct. I would say the toughest district is probably the Troy one, right?
Yes.
Troy, Royal Oak. They have.
Isn't the Utica
Hills.
schools in it? Isn't Ike in it usually?
That is another tough district. This one though it's Troy. Brother Rice was in it this year.
Oh jeez, Brother Rice.
Troy Athens.
Danny.
Troy Athens used to be in that district, but I think they went to the Ike.
Okay,
Eisenhower.
Ike and Uke and Ford.
Bloomfield Hills, Seaholm is very strong. I think Southfield A&T got stuck in the district somehow. And I think there's 1 or 2 teams that are missing that are also very strong. So that's probably the district of death,
Would it be
right?
like Berkeley or
Berkeley,
Birmingham?
Berkeley.
And then what
obviously
about
very strong
Birmingham
team.
Groves or whatnot? Or are they
Groves?
down to D2?
No, Groves is in that district. So those two teams suffer, not to mention. And I think that's as tough as it gets. Right? You have to say that's as tough as it
It's
gets.
so annoying.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Forest Hills and East Kentwood, it's only those 2 schools, and then.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a lot to say about that. I think probably the challenge with that for the people that organize it, is from a distance standpoint, from a geographic standpoint, it might be tough.
Of course, it makes sense.
But I gotta think that there's a better way to do it, But I think we'll all complain no matter what happens. I think we'll, someone will have an issue with whichever way those districts are split up.
Wow. So what's your daily schedule like when you're coaching high school, probably right after school at 3 to 5, let's call it 3 to 5, and then you're straight to here?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is just do daily management for Evolution. Right? Just try to look at any incoming messages, any prospect. I try to program as much as I can session-wise, and I try to do a lot of learning. Right? Just as simple as watching games, watching other trainers' sessions. Especially there's some pretty good trainers out there, to be honest. Right? Obviously, there's a lot on social media, but there are a few that are really intricate what they do and educational and really break things down and really focus on mechanics. So I try to always keep an eye out on what they're doing. I try to reflect on the sessions that we're doing. Then I plan for high school. Right? I usually plan the training sessions that we're gonna do. I usually train if we have a game, I'd usually try to plan around that. Maybe try to scout games that our opposition has had.
Absolutely.
Right? See if there's a couple strengths that they have that we need to be aware of, or certain areas where we can take advantage of. So a lot of my day is revolved around planning and programming.
Okay. What position did you play growing up?
I played as a striker,
Okay.
And winger, but I really should have played as a midfielder. Ian always told me to play as a midfielder, and I was very stubborn because I wanted to get all the glory and try to score goals and beat players. But really, what the gifts that I was given, I think being a midfielder, I would have probably gone further in soccer, and I would have been a lot more effective. And that being because I'm a pretty decent athlete, but I'm not lightning fast. I'm obviously not super tall. I'm not super I'm pretty strong for my height. But I'd say my understanding of the game, my awareness, my processing speed, and my technical ability would have made me a much more effective midfielder.
Right. So What did you play at UD?
U of D, I play striker.
Okay, you're up
winger,
top.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So programming. When you talk about programming, go into that. Like, when you get a new player, do you have like a set of sessions, or do you have like an intro session where you find out what you think that player needs, or do you listen to the parents when they say, she needs to work on her shooting? Yet she doesn't need to work on her shooting. She needs to work on her first touch and passing and receiving and
Yes.
knowing what the ball's going to do.
Yes. So one thing that a lot of people appreciate about our program is the conversations that we have, the programming that we do. So the first thing I'll do is have a conversation with the parent. We'll have an initial call, and we'll talk about what their kids' experience has been like, what they're doing pretty well, what level they're playing at, what they're struggling with, what their coach has said and recommended. I'll normally have them fill a form, and then they can put this on the form, strength, weaknesses, what type of sessions they're looking to get into, so we have something to track. And then I'll usually try to do goal setting with as many players as possible. So we'll say, what are you looking to accomplish over the next 12 months? What's your long-term goal? So that helps us get to know them better. Mm-hmm. And eventually I want to try to create an IDP for them, which is an individual development plan. Mm-hmm. And that's going to include the goal setting. That's going to include also metrics. It's something I've been doing a lot with players. So metrics just being, if I'm a midfielder, I want to make X amount of progressive passes each game. I want to get X amount of passes into the attacking third. I want to get X amount of passes into the box. I want to beat X. Have X amount of successful 1v1 moments. So like whether I'm turning a defender and getting past them, or I'm just beating a player 1v1. I want to get X amount of shot off, right? So if I'm a midfielder, I might want to aim to get 3 to 4 shots a game. And so forth, right? If I'm a winger, I'm going to try to get X amount of crosses in. If I'm a defender, I'm going to get X amount of ball recoveries, right? And so those are metrics. I usually try to have them do a mental assessment as well, how they respond to mistakes, and so forth. So we try to do a lot to give players sort of a roadmap for their development. Having so many players that we train, sometimes we're not perfect about it, but that's what we try to do for most players we work with, especially the ones that do one-on-ones in small groups.
Right. When you're doing small groups, do you place the player into the small group, or do you allow a parent to kind of, hey, we got 4 kids and we want to come and train with you?
Yeah, most small groups are usually team. I would say like 80% of small groups are usually teammates that will come in and form a small group. And a small group is just 2 to 6 players, right? So it's pretty easy to form a small group. However, sometimes we'll match players. We'll recommend players to train together. We'll say, hey, this is a player in your position that has similar needs, or this is a player that's like at your age and level, maybe an attacker and a defender that we think can go against each other really well. So we normally try to make sure that it's appropriate. Similar to what you said earlier, like you don't want to have mismatches, right? Because no one ever is happy from that. It looks bad and all. And so we try to match the small groups up as well as possible so that the players can benefit from training together.
Yeah. You designed this entire place?
I did. I had a lot of help as far as, getting things done around, but I would say like most of the design and the ideas, something that I've had in my mind since college. I used to sit in class, and I hope no kid is listening to this, but I used to dream of this place, with the workout room, and there's a few more ideas down the line as well, hopefully that are going to come to fruition, but yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I've had a ton of help, to be honest. I've had a ton of help and ton of support, and without a doubt, wouldn't be here without that help and support.
My goal with my facility was I wanted the whole thing to be like a kick wall, because the kids don't. It's the most vital tool to a player's development, I think, is a kick wall. There's
I agree.
A ball and a kick wall.
I agree.
And I'm just looking around here, and it's all kick wall.
Absolutely.
I love it.
You can get so creative with what you do, right? Like, play giving goals against the wall, shoot against the wall.
Exactly.
That's
you don't
a
have
massive
to have
thing.
a net.
Correct.
You just can work. a lot of times I'll do a drill like where they'll have to shoot it to a spot on the wall and then have to shoot it on net.
Love
and
that.
the shot against the wall is way better than the shot
on
again
net.
on net. And I'm like, why? And it's like because you're scared to miss. Whereas when you're shooting against a wall, you're just focused on the ball. When you shoot on net, dude, you're just focused. You're trying not to miss, and then the technique is just way worse.
That's really well said, right? Which is a whole another topic, like the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, right? Over the past 2 years, I've just been really having I've been having a lot of conversations with players regarding that. But I agree, the wall, being able to shoot at the wall, like that first touch too, when the ball comes back to you from the wall, that helps players work on the receiving out of the air and judging the ball and adjusting the feet, right? Which is massive. Like that is one of my secret sauce with a lot of players, right? Because especially you go to a higher level game or when you go to high school games, college games, that ball spends a lot of time in the air. Goal kicks, clearances, long balls, second balls coming down. When players use the wall to strike the ball and just have to react to it and judge those skips, that usually translates really well outside.
Right.
So normally, like I'd have a player maybe stand like on one end. They'll hit a long ball and maybe try to hit that black shadow behind me there, and then they'll have to react to it, let it bounce one time maximum, or try not to let it bounce, and they'll receive and pass it into a goal. So like that will simulate like maybe there's a long ball, someone heads it, and they're reacting to the second ball, and then they're connecting the pass out of it. So that's how we use those walls. Obviously for passes, we've got rebounders in the corner, right, just to create different angles of passes. That helps. I think, as you know, variety in training is massive, right? Just creating a variety of situations, right? Instead of just a player passing to a coach, right, or a player passing to just teammates, right? If you can have the wall to a teammate, a wall to a coach, combinations, passes into pucks, right? So that variety just creates a lot more fluency in players.
Yeah. One thing, the passing in the pugs or your Forza goals, like something I just really started doing about 3 years ago was everything's timed. Everything is timed. How many passes can you get into that net? Go through your sequence and your circuit and your passing sequence, but how many balls will be in the back of the net in 3 minutes? Then if let's say it's 12 balls, it's like, okay, you're doing it again, 3 minutes. Can you beat 12?
Yes.
And then it's like competitive, and the kids are like, and then if it's less, the kids are like really let down. And then we're like, okay, we're doing it again until we can beat 12. And like those little things, it's like you can make things measurable and you can make things competitive even though you don't add a defender. How many times have you seen technical trainers get attacked because, let's see you do that against a defender? I can't stand those people.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you need more time with the ball. Pele didn't always have a defender.
Correct.
When he wasn't picked for the pickup games, he went home and it was just him and a ball and usually a wall.
Correct. Yeah, no, it goes back to variety, right? And then you don't always. There are unopposed reps. There are opposed reps. The opposed reps are very important, but the unopposed reps are just as important. It's just like saying, I mean, this might be a bad analogy, but if you want to get stronger, if you want to, it's just like saying doing
curls.
It's a bad idea because you're only doing curls. Well, curls still help you get stronger,
Right.
Compound lifts are great, right? And then maybe fighting somebody, actually, like if you like, let's say you want to become a better fighter, a better boxer, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, you can do that to become to just boxing and fighting. But if you do some strength training and you isolate some specific areas to help you get stronger, then that's just as effective, right?
Right.
So I think people like to generalize stuff sometimes, and just kind of jump to, you're only using cones. It's just a means to an end, right? It's just really putting a focus on one area and getting a lot of repetitions and being able to really narrow down and improve some specific things.
How long are your sessions?
Usually 1 hour.
Yeah. Do you ever do like half an hour in there and half an hour in here?
We would do half an hour in there sometimes, but usually an hour in here. Some parents have asked about splitting.
Okay.
That's something we're trying to get a lot more comfortable with. But actually, a lot of people would do 1 hour out there, 1 hour in here, sometimes half an hour in there, an hour in here. But we're trying to see if we can integrate both.
What's your opinion? Okay, think about college, right?
Yes.
A lot of times, I don't even really remember. A lot of times you'd lift and then go train. Or then sometimes some coaches would train and then lift. I was always under the influence of, like, if you're going to fall down or, like, not be able to pass out, or if you're going to pass out, you want to pass out on the field and not in there when you're trying to lift weight. So do you have a philosophy on that?
Definitely I do. It's very simple. It's what do you want to get more, which session do you want to get the most out of? Okay. So, if I'm in season and I really want to focus on improving my curve shots or improve my moments 1v1, then I'm going to do my soccer session first. I'm going to do my technical session first, just to make sure I'm really dialed in and I can put maximum intensity towards that technical session so I can get the most out of that. And then, I'd put the strength training after. However, if I want to improve my first two steps and I want to get quicker, I want to get a little bit stronger, right? That's gonna come first. So if you're ever gonna do 2 sessions, whichever you want to get the most out of, that's the one that you're gonna do first. I've actually done a little bit of research on it, and I think that's pretty consistent, to what people that have done research on that say. So there's no optimal. There's no optimal one to do first. You would think maybe, do one or the other, but I think it's just what you want to get more out of that you're going to put first.
Do you make families and stuff, do you make them commit to a certain amount of sessions, or do you allow one-offs?
We do allow drop-ins,
okay,
but we really discourage them. So the only time we will let players come in once in a while is if they just have some pretty crazy circumstances, like just coming from really far away. Some players just have ridiculous schedules. Where they might be playing for multiple teams, they might be playing multiple sports. But I typically like players to do 4 to 6 sessions at a time because it just gives us that continuity, all right, and we can track their progress week to week. And a lot of times, as a coach, like you'd spend an hour working on a specific area, or even at the end of the session, you might work on something and it just doesn't quite click. You want to see that player the next week, right, or within a week, so you can have a follow up to that session, and attack that area that you're working on again. However, if we're doing a session and the player is struggling with something, and I don't get to see them for another 3 or 4 weeks, it's very hard because when they come back, we almost start over again, So we typically really encourage players to commit to 4 to 6 to 8 weeks at a time. If they're going to take a break after that, that's okay. But 4, 6, 8 weeks is usually what we really push.
What's your furthest player away? Where do they
we
travel?
Have players come from Lansing.
Whoa.
Yeah, we have an ECNL player that comes from Lansing.
Who does she play for? Hawks?
She plays for Hawks, 2010. They just won a national championship.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. She was injured during that spell, but she's a very good player for them.
Lansing? It's like an hour away.
Yeah. It's
an hour and a half away.
We've had, let me think, we have a family that comes every single week. This name is getting away from me. Flushing. They're coming from Flushing. I think Flushing is almost an hour away.
Isn't Flushing like Detroit? No.
I'd have to look on the map. I think it's...
Where's Flushing?
I want to say it's close to the Lapeer area. It's about an hour away from what I understand. We have, we have some that come from Detroit, right, which is 45, 50 minutes away. So we have players from all over the place. Michaela, she's probably one of our most recognized players that we train here. She's on Chicago Stars.
Oh wait, what?
Yeah, she plays for Chicago Stars in the NWSL and then U17 national team. She's actually playing in the World Cup right now. So Michaela, she comes back home from Chicago, but anytime she's home, she'll usually try to get a session in with us.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Where is she from?
She is from Troy, Michigan initially.
She's from Troy. And she is just lives with a family out at Chicago Stars. Yes. I didn't know NWSL teams were doing that.
Yeah. So I
like it.
Yeah, she's young.
I love that.
Yeah, she lives in Chicago with her dad, I think, and then her mom and brothers are still here in Troy.
Oh, okay.
So those sort of commute back and forth. But anytime she's home, and same thing with her brother. Her brother actually plays for Chicago Fire MLS Academy now. He just signed for Chicago Fire.
What age?
He is a 2012. 2012.
Okay.
So, Josh and Michaela, anytime they're home, they'll try to come and play in the 4v4s that we host here, which is just a really awesome thing that we do.
Is it
here
like pickup? I was going to ask you if you do pickup in here.
We do pickup. We do pickup.
You
And then,
have to.
and usually, right now, we've only really done it with like high school players, like usually higher level high school players. But we're trying, especially with the new facility, we want to have it for everyone because I think that is massive, especially if a player can come and only pay $10 and get to play for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Exactly.
We will be able to get more people involved and people that really care, but people that might care a lot but may not be able to afford the full training fees.
How do you set up your pickups? Do you only allow like 8 players to play, or do you bring in 12 and it's winner stays?
Winner stays, so
Okay.
12 to 15 players.
Okay.
So we'll have like maybe 3 teams of 5, but do 4v4s with a sub.
Okay.
It gets very competitive,
Yeah.
very intense. The trainers jump in, and then we have a trophy. We actually have a small trophy at the end, and
I love it.
It's a ton of fun, and I really think that's the way to go. And I really want to open it up to all age groups.
So I do, with all of our college players, we do pickup, and it's called like Midnight Madness. I kind of stole it off of State for basketball and whatnot.
Love
but
it.
so what I like to do is always have odd teams or uneven teams. So if we're playing 5v5, one of the teams, and let's say we have 5 players on the sideline.
Yes.
Well, I'll make a team of 3, and then I'll make a team of 2. Who's
Oh.
got next? And then the team of 3 has next. They have to peel 2 players off of the losing team.
Ooh.
And so then, like, some kids are going to play every single minute.
Yes.
Some kids aren't going to play a lot because
They're not getting
they don't think that they're good enough or they can win with you.
Yeah.
So, and then each kid gets an individual point for every match that they win. And we say, okay, first player to win 10 games wins.
Wow.
And
I love that.
It is insane. And I do it with like the little kids, like 9 to 12-year-olds. Oh my God. I get asked all the time, when's the next pickup? When's the next pickup? I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, like pickup is so vital.
It is vital. If I have to say what, from my experience over the last 7 years, are some of the most influential pieces of player development, I would put pickup up there. So pickup soccer, training by yourself, a player just literally training by themselves with no guidance from a coach, from a parent, having to figure things out, having to have that discipline to train by themselves. Watching soccer, watching soccer on TV, even if it's just extended highlights, right? And you watch players, especially in your position, and you see how they're creating chances, seeing what they're trying, right? And just try to think about what they might be thinking. That's massive. Working with a really high quality trainer, that can give you proper guidance and feedback and tips. That helps a lot. Having a really good quality club coach. Mm-hmm. It's massive. If you have a coach that can really help you understand the game and help you, give you a way to think and solve problems, that's massive. Having supportive parents, that reflect on games appropriately, like without putting too much pressure or being too passive.
Right.
So those are 6 things off the top of my head that I think are massive pillars of player development. From players that I see have a lot of success. I usually see them cover most of those 6, and there are a few more things that I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head. But yeah, definitely pickup soccer is massive, which is why we're trying to offer it across the board here.
So I came up with like a development pie chart, right?
Ooh.
And who has the biggest piece, right?
Yes.
So here's who has a piece: the club,
Yes.
the coaches, just
Correct.
coaches in general. Parents have a massive piece,
Definitely.
bigger than club and bigger than coaches, in my opinion.
I agree.
The biggest piece is the player themselves.
Correct.
What people forget is teammates. I think teammates, talent loves talent. And is the players around you trying to help you improve and make you better, or are they kind of bringing you down? And then the 6th one is your competition. So, and I look at and I make a chart of the biggest pieces are yourself and your parents, and then everything else is kind of even. The team, the coaches, or the club, the coaches, your teammates, and then the competition.
Yes, and it's almost like a compounding effect. I think if you are a player and you're right around the right people, your love for the game grows. If you're around players that are constantly pushing you, teammates that are pushing you, making you better, then you're getting better. And same thing if you're around players that just nonchalant, don't care that much, really just are kind of toxic, then your love for the game fades, right? So it's one of those compounding things that I think the harder a player works to put themselves in a good position, the more options they can have as players to put themselves in an environment that keeps helping them grow their love for the game and helping them improve as players. But yeah, you're correct. The parents are massive. If you have parents that have the correct balance, that the players respect, that's a big thing. I think sometimes if a kid doesn't really respect the parent, and it doesn't have to be respect because the parent was a good soccer player or like was a great athlete. I think a lot of times it's just like, if you as a parent have integrity,
right?
If you're consistent, right, that's a big thing. So a lot of successful players that I see, a lot of times like it seems to me like they respect their parents quite a bit.
Yeah. Do you remember Caleb Stanko? He's not a kid. He's older than you.
Yeah, I remember hearing his name a lot.
So Caleb Stanko was by far like the best player that I've ever been around. But when he was playing Vardar, do you remember when the Wolves were partners with Derby County?
I do remember that.
So the Wolves sent a team over to Derby County to train with their youth academy, but they invited Stanko to go with them, and Stanko played for Vardar at the time. Derby County came back. Oh, you got UPS. You need to sign it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. So we work with Heads Up SCS, which is like a light. Yeah, sorry about that. So we work with Heads Up SCS.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when this is over, I'm going to try to send you that information because I think it's very transformative. But essentially, there are these lights that players can scan. They're programmable lights.
Yep.
And they have 4 or 5 different functionalities, and so you could use in different ways to training. Right, you can use it for decision making, for reaction, and just for simple awareness.
Right. We have a trainer that uses them, I believe, but they're not. Are they actually built into it, or you just set it up? And then you just it's working on scanning, right?
Yeah, working on scanning, and then there's a few. Sometimes you can use blaze pods, right? Blaze pods will have lights and stuff, but this one is specific. He uses blaze pods. I think everyone in every trainer needs to know about Heads Up. And this is I do have a partnership with them, but I paid for these couple lights, so it's not like they're just throwing everything at me.
How do you have a partnership with them?
Initially, they wanted me to to come up with some drills, right? And then they came to this facility. We recorded a few drills, right? So that's how I did. So I got a couple sets for free, and then I just purchased a couple of sets for a new facility and to use with the high school team. So it's amazing. I'll tell you a little bit more about it after the interview.
Yeah. So Caleb Stanko, he was invited to go to Derby County when he was probably 13 or 14, and Derby County came back and be like, well, he told the Wolves, one, Caleb Stanko is the only kid that can hang here.
Wow.
2, Caleb came back and said that the difference of being over here with his Vardar Academy kids and Derby County was over there, every kid wanted to be a pro and went after it every single session. Over here, when we were talking about the pie chart and how your teammates are very important, over here, you've worked with a lot of teams. There's some kids that want to be, a Power 4 Division I soccer player, especially on girls' teams, right?
Yes.
But then you have some that just want to play high school soccer.
Correct.
Some just want to have fun with their friends.
Correct.
And I'm always harping on players. I'm don't bring it down. Don't bring the session down. If you're just here for fun,
yes.
Or sometimes you're here because your parents made you.
Yeah.
If you don't really want to be here, don't bring down the kid's session that wants to be the pro or wants to be a D1, Power 4.
That is a really good reference there. When I was interviewing for Rochester yesterday, and I don't know when you're gonna release this because I don't want to know that.
It's probably gonna be 2 weeks, so hopefully you get the job.
Okay.
Before then.
Yeah. So one of the talking points, right, was intensity at training and standards of training. And, from my experience with the Mott girls and with Clarkson, not every kid wants to play in college, right? You have some kids that want to go play pro and want to play in college, but unfortunately, not every kid want to. So, and we don't necessarily want to force those kids to want to play in college or play pro if that's not something they want to do. However, we do have standards that we are gonna uphold, right? So if you do choose to be part of this team, you have to meet our standards from an effort standpoint, from a focus standpoint, to make sure that the kids that are really serious and they want to have an achieve something special with us. Like we don't want kids that don't care as much to bring that level down. So if we always tell players, if you're going to be part of this team, if you're going to accept a roster spot on a varsity team or on a JV team, this is what's expected from an effort standpoint, from a standard standpoint, like wearing the proper uniform to training, bringing your ball with you, being 10 minutes early to training, communicating, not being nonchalant, try to have quality. Mistakes are going to be made. That's okay, right? You might give the ball away, lose the ball, whatnot. That's okay, right? But the things that you can control, the standard has to be really high, right? Like you have to come to training and it's very clear that you're giving your best, to your teammates. Whether you want to just play to have fun and do your best here in high school is going to be all you do, or you want to go and play in college or pro. In this environment, we're going to try to keep the standards up.
Wow.
So that's usually how we communicate it, to our high school teams. And that's just what I encourage club coaches to do as well, because not everyone necessarily wants to go really far, like we mentioned. However, I think coaches just have to set standards and expectation and let people know, okay, like you as a person just need to be given the best that you can. You need to be doing your best at all times, like whether you want to go far with soccer or not.
Mm-hmm. What's your biggest marketing? Is it obviously word of mouth has to be huge?
Definitely word of mouth.
How is the word of mouth here these days?
Amazing. Yeah. I think when kids or anyone just know that you have their best interests in mind and that you're putting a lot of time and effort and that you're really invested and that that what you're talking about, I think people really appreciate that, right? Because that is not the common thing out there. There's a lot of people that are in it for the wrong reason. Yeah. And people can see that and people get frustrated. So when they find a place or coaches that can help them, do care about them, and make them enjoy the game more and help them build their confidence, like I think that is something that thankfully we have some great families they will usually go and recommend it. Now, funny enough, there are some families that will come and and their kid will get a lot of benefit from it, but they want to kind of hide it. They want to keep it to themselves, right? Because like they don't want their teammates to
That's why I stayed in Buffalo. That's why I didn't come back after my time with Flash. I stayed in Buffalo because everybody was so supportive and spreading the word.
Yes.
Whereas here, okay, Aaron Bird, next level. At the time, he only had one facility, and he had a waiting list, and people were trying to get him in and get into him. And so I started mine, and there were some Wolves kids that I had, and I was like, yeah, spread the word, and they're like, no, we're not telling anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's like, how am I supposed to build a business?
Yeah.
And then I got the Flash job, and I was like, okay, I'm out of here because the word of mouth just wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
I have to be careful how I respond, to the whole thing, right? So obviously, from your experience. Yeah, I think first of all, when you talk about Aaron and next level, you have to put respect, right? You have to put respect. Best. Yeah, absolutely.
He's
and
he's the biggest.
What he's done for the soccer community in Michigan, the amount of players that have gone pro, that have gone and played in college, and
crazy.
Just improving the quality of play, within the club scene. So a lot of respect for that, right? And I trained there a little bit when I was younger as well. But I would say, since I started my program, there's been challenges there from that aspect. I think, they're very competitive. I think the players that have gone there, are loyal, do have a lot of respect. So some players that have come here from that program, maybe because they want more private sessions, they want small groups. I think sometimes it's almost like that. Oh, we don't want Aaron to know, right? We don't want them to know because we don't want the pushback. And even maybe some coaches that know maybe, hey, we should be sending our kids to Evolution, right? Because they'll benefit a lot. I think maybe because their relationship with them, that's made it tricky, right? So it's been sort of a tricky situation. I've always tried to stay respectful, and I see some things that are said. We try to focus on what we do and just try to be the best that we can.
Right.
Focusing on what we can control, and just that's the way I look at it. But my personal opinion is that no one gets anywhere without help and support and encouragement. So even what we just said about next level, they wouldn't be where they are unless they did a good job and they got recommendation, they got support.
Yep.
They've got people pushing them. So I've had a few people that are younger than me, and other trainers even that are my age that are trying to start up their programs, even some around me. And I've always done nothing but try to help them. I've always tried to give them as much knowledge and support as possible because I know there's a ton of kids out there that need help, that could use something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we want to be the best program. We want to be recognized as the best program. We're very competitive. But I think in this world, right, you have to give back, you have to push, So for me, I would have a hard time sleeping if I would encourage kids not to go to a different program, so I think that we all have to help each other, and our whole mission should be to help kids and make kids better and make this community better. And I think, I don't think there's a need to ever try to talk negatively about other programs.
Right.
And try to pretend that we're the only ones that know, what we're talking about, because everything, I'm sure that any trainers know, or coach know, they've acquired that knowledge somewhere else, right? They've, no one reinvented the wheel, no one did anything new. So that's my take on that, and hopefully that's really respectful to everyone.
Yeah. No. So when I started Playmaker in Buffalo, I was the first technical trainer that just did technical training.
Wow.
I wasn't part of any club at that time.
Yes.
And now there are 10,
Wow.
11.
Yeah.
And some people, so I brought in another company that does exactly what I do.
Wow.
To split my space. Because I didn't want to do 30 hours on the field anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I bring in a sharpshooter soccer academy, and I'm slowly, I don't know if I'm going to put this on air, but I'm slowly coming to the end of my time in
Buffalo.
And it's going to happen pretty quickly, I think. And I'm probably going to edit that out because people are going to freak it out.
Yeah.
But some parents will apologize, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to be training with sharpshooters today. And I'm like, why are you apologizing to me?
Yeah.
Well, we just did, we are your player. And I'm like, whoa. No, you're not. It's okay. I want you to. There's a reason why I brought him in. He does a good job. I want you to train with multiple. I think people, to be a complete soccer player, they need multiple voices.
I agree.
When I was with the Flash, it was Sam Mewis, Abby Dahlkemper, Lynn Williams, Jay Hinkle, Sidney LaRue was on there for a little bit. And I asked Sam Mewis and Abby Dahlkemper how many coaches had influence on their development, real positive influence, and they rattled off 9 coaches each. And yet we have so many coaches around here because of ego, and I say around here, I mean in the entire United States, that claim players I developed that player. It's no, you didn't. There's 9 people that had a hand in that development.
It takes a village.
In that pie chart.
It takes a village. It takes a village, absolutely. And I think it's on one hand, it's good to take pride in your work as a coach and then having given effort, but it takes a village, absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. Because not if it was just me as a coach, then every player would be going on and playing Division I soccer or playing at the highest level, or playing, So it takes a village. It's the work, like we mentioned earlier, that kid puts in work, has a good attitude, has a good support system from his parents and friends, maybe has a good club environment, and we just help accelerate their growth, right? We help fill the holes, right? But to try and say, oh, this player is here because of me, only because of me, like, I think to me that's ridiculous, right? We might put a post saying, hey, like what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'm really proud to see that this player is achieved this or that. And then we're just really glad to be part of their village, right? And be part of their support system. But to say that, oh, I'm the one that's done this, and they wouldn't have this skill without us, or like they wouldn't be there without it. Like, to me, that's really good. And I do think that that's how a lot of trainers are trying to sort of portray the players that are having success with them, right? And like, especially the ones like that are playing for like let's take the Hawks, for example, or Nationals, right? Those two programs have a history and a track record of attracting the best talent, right? Because they have really competitive teams and are in good leagues. So naturally, players are gonna go there, right? So if I'm a trainer and I work with players from from those programs, yeah, I can help them a lot. But like, those girls are gonna go play in college. Those girls are gonna go play at a high level, and yeah, we can do a lot to help. But to try and pretend that like we're the main reason and we're the only reason why, and then to your point, you have a lot of kids, and that's happened with me as well, that will say, oh, I wouldn't be here without you, coach. I wouldn't have done this, and that's nice, that's flattering, right? But no, like you wouldn't be here without your whole village.
Did this.
Yeah, without yeah, you did this. You've had your parents, your club, your so. Yeah, so that's my take on that. It takes a village.
I mean, I just, in another episode recently, like, I can't stand when clubs do that. Like, let's say a Hawks player commits to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But she just spent the last 8 years with Jags.
Yeah.
And then they get the college post. And it's like, can you just tag Jags?
Yeah.
Can you just like tag Jags and be like, hey, and she also spent the last 8 years with Jags and these coaches and stuff like that also coached her. It's like, can you just throw that little nugget? If the soccer community did a little bit more of that,
I fully agree.
I think we would be so much better, and it'd be less dog eat dog, and like, I'm better than you and whatnot. Like, I love it when I look at an Instagram post from players and they rattle off their club, their personal trainer, their high school coach, and like all of it. I'm like, okay, that's better.
That's much better.
Or multiple clubs. Like, I want to think. I look at college bios too, and if they list multiple clubs, I'm like, that's a good kid.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want to see. I don't want to see, and she played for the Hawks for 1 year, or played for the Western New York Flash for 1 year. It's like, that drives me nuts. I wish we just got rid of that and the ego of, I built that. Because we don't have solidarity payments here. We don't have training compensation like the rest of the world does, where we get players or we get money for developing kids. All we get to do is post, and hopefully that attracts other kids.
Yeah, and have a little bit of pride and absolutely. I the amount of kids that quit soccer at a young age because their first few coaches were maybe awful, or they were just in bad environments, is ridiculous. How many of those kids, had they been in a slightly better environment, better coaches, better teammates, would have gone far? So to me, to your point, is if a kid doesn't really credit the clubs that they started with and the coaches they started with, and that's a little disheartening, because like, that was a reason why they kept playing, why they fell in love with the game.
Exactly.
Right? And especially, when they do go to a club for only 1 or 2 years, when they're already really good, and, and they don't acknowledge, like, the environment that they were in before and the coaches that might have helped before, that is a bit disheartening, right? And I do think, like, players do have to get in the habit of doing so.
When you said that, you're funny, because when you said that, if you were that good of a coach, all your players would go D1, not just a few.
Correct.
I think about that with like La Masia. When you go to get like coaching courses, or you listen, and it's like, La Masia is the best development academy, or the best development in the world. I'm like, Is it though?
Yeah.
Is it? What happened to the kid that Messi replaced at 13? The kid
Exactly.
from Argentina just fell in their lap because he needed to get human growth hormone. And what happened to the kid that he replaced?
Yeah.
What happened? Is he a pro?
You don't hear about
all
it.
their 9-year-olds would turn into pros.
Correct.
When they say, "Oh, 6 kids came from the academy," what happened to the other 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not even playing anymore. They're accountants.
Correct.
They're like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, stop acting like.
Yeah.
Stop acting like somebody like developed like every player in the world, you know?
No.
Like, think about when France won the World Cup. What got the credit? It was like a inner city cage where pickup soccer just
Yes.
ruled,
Yes.
and that's what like it got a lot of the credit for France's World Cup. It wasn't like some youth academy or whatever. Like, that drives me nuts because sometimes I don't think development is real. Of course, development is real, but I'm thinking like taking the credit for development is not real.
Correct.
Oh, West Ham's youth academy.
Yeah.
They sell him and him and him. And I'm like, okay, what happened to the other 13?
I think just that's our culture. I think we like to just point out one thing and just have the exciting answer, you know, the answer that everyone wants to hear, you know, like it is way more boring to say, oh yeah, you know, it was, you know, this phase really helped as well, and you know, and like playing street soccer helped, and they had a great community. That's boring. No one wants to hear. Like, everyone wants to hear, oh, Evolution did it, or La Masia did it, or you know, Chelsea Academy. Everyone wants to hear the one answer, you know, because like that's exciting. You know, that's, you know, so unfortunately that's how we are as a culture. We're not a really patient culture. We don't really want to take too much time to think and analyze, you know. So that's a big part of it, you know. And yeah.
How do you educate parents and tell them like, okay, this is going to take a long time. This isn't a month fix.
Yeah.
This isn't an 8-month fix. This is going to be 7 years.
We're trying to do a bit more for that, you know, even having like maybe an article or like a video that we have. But for the most part, it's when we have that initial phone call, we try to explain that, like, listen, if we were geniuses, like we would be, everyone would be, like I said, you know, so it's not nothing magical. In fact, we actually play a small piece in what we were trying to do long term. We want to improve players through these technical sessions, but we also want to get them comfortable training on their own, right, and watching more games and just thinking positively. So what we do here at Evolution is maybe like 10% of the value we're going to give you. Like, it's just the habits we're going to help them develop is really going to be a big part of their overall development. So yeah, that initial phone call is usually how we explain things, and anytime we get a chance to have a conversation with parents before or after sessions, right, we will normally sort of update them and sort of just give them that reassurance and reemphasize that, you know, something that takes time.
Right.
And it's going to be a roller coaster ride, right? So people expect this from a development standpoint, just you know, a straight chart or graph up. But it's more of a roller coaster, right? And there are ups, there are downs. But as long as the players overall is growing, they're growing their skills, they're growing their confidence, right? And a lot of times they can see it, right? It doesn't. Soccer is not a sport where you can measure, and there's like stats like baseball or football, and you can see how, you know, and that can be a frustrating thing for parents too, right? Because like they want numbers, like we want numbers, like we want proof, like we want.
Right.
So sometimes like just to tell players, well, it's a visual thing, right? It's like something that a player is going to talk to you about how they feel, like feeling more confident. It's just something you're gonna have to see their progress on the field. And unfortunately, some parents aren't patient like that, you know. Yeah.
And it's so subjective.
It's very subjective. Yeah.
Like you and I could have this work with the same player, and we could have very different opinions on the exact same player.
Correct.
I mean, unless we're like, dude, this guy's legit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. It is a very subjective thing.
See, like I'm looking at like your quotes, and you just said some like about the hard work and how long it takes to do it. And there's a quote, and I was looking to see if you had it up, because it's like something along the lines of success looks a lot like hard work. Yeah. Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
There's one that says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That is one over there. That's a big one. My favorite one of these quotes, let's see.
I love the luck what happens when opportunity meets preparation.
Yes, that is massive. We had that in a bigger print for a reason. I'd say that one right behind us.
If you're not willing to learn, nobody can help you. But if you're determined to learn, nobody can stop
Yeah,
you.
and I'll be completely
like
honest.
that.
I did steal that one from Next Level. I think initially I saw it on one of their walls in a video. So and I did tell Aaron, dude, like, I like this quote, but it's just really powerful, right? It's very true, right? Because one big challenge that as a coach is you'll get a kid showing up there to a training session and they don't really want to be there, right? And mom and dad just maybe thought it was a good idea and they want to be there, and and so sometimes them seeing that quote and then just us giving them a little bit of purpose, us helping them understand why they're there, coming up with a roadmap for them, letting them know what success could look like, and not just how it relates to them as a player but also as a person, right? Because soccer, they're going to play for so many years. And then, after that, they're going to go into the real world, right? And a lot of skills that we learn here as far as preparation, mental toughness, resilience, that would carry on to whatever they do, right? If they have a real job, if they're going to start their own businesses, right? Whatever they're going to do, there are a lot of skills that will really benefit them, that, that it's in their best interest to learn now, right? And it's a win-win.
Okay. So when you're not here and there's somebody else running a session in here,
Yes.
do you design that session or does your staff?
So it's been a good balance recently. I would say I do program most of the drills, most of the sessions, but Peyton, Irvin, they've done a really good job recently. Just being very creative on their own. And even having like derivations of maybe something that I might have done, and likewise, right? Sometimes I'll see some of the things that they're doing and say, hey, I'll like this for the concept I want to do. I think this is a really good approach. This is a really good drill. So and then kind of going back to your point earlier, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. You've brought in another training company, right? And sometimes you've had families that will maybe go and train with that player, or with that trainer, and then maybe apologize to you. I think the same thing has happened here, here with Evolution. Like Peyton and Irvin, they're fantastic coach. They're fantastic guys. They've really built their skills as coaches. They have great tonality, great personalities. I think there's been quite a few times where parents are like, hey, can my kid do the session with Coach Peyton? Can my kid do the session with Coach Irvin? And when are you working, Peyton? When are you working, Irvin? That is something that wasn't always easy for me to take in because I'm super competitive, and I like to think I'm one of the better trainers around. But I also understood that it's not about me. It's about the kid, right? And if a kid feels like that's what's gonna help them grow, and that's they can be comfortable with those trainers, that is something that I try to accept, and be comfortable with. And, there's some other kids that vibe with my personality and my approach, right, which is a little more scientific, right, which is a little more direct, and some kids and families vibe a bit more with that, right? And there's no judgment, there's no, there's no hard feelings. I've matured a lot, I think initially it was pretty tough. From a program standpoint and a business standpoint, I do try to balance it out because I don't want it to be one of those things where a kid is only comfortable doing session with one trainer because like what if that trainer gets sick or like something happens or they have to leave, right? Like I want them to be comfortable with our program as a whole. And if they do want to work with one trainer a little bit more, like that's completely okay, which works out for me too, as I do a lot of high school stuff and I focus on going to business, so it's worked out pretty well in recent times.
So I've brought in like 3 or 4 trainers, and I was more worried about people saying, no, we only want Jason. Only want Jason. And I'm like, if I trust this person to train, you're going to be okay. And then it eventually gets to a point where like, hey, can we have Carissima instead of Jason? Like, and like, or where's Carissima? And I'm like, hey, I'm here, jerk, But and I forgot where I was going with that, but I feel like we as coaches, if we help develop other coaches, we make our impact even bigger.
Definitely.
Because maybe they go to a different high school and coach a kid that will never like train and will never touch, right? So like, then we're really can spread,
I agree. And, our mission, like I say, our mission is to help players, to help develop highly skilled players that are confident and in love with the game. I didn't say
Right.
my mission is for Kevin to work with every single player, and my mission is
Exactly.
so.
'Cause you can't.
Yes, correct. And so if the coaches that we bring in here, or even some coaches that might be watching from a distance, are able to pick up some things that we do, and that's great, right? We help U.S. soccer get better. We help soccer in Michigan get better.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So so that's my whole thing. Yeah. So I've had to sort of try to get my ego out of the way, and
Yeah.
Yes.
What I used to do is I would try to rotate.
Yeah.
Make sure that so sometimes we would split the space. We
Yeah.
had like a net, and it would just be one-on-one sessions, and Chris would be with somebody and I would be with somebody. And then the next week it flips. So then this kid is over there, and now I get whoever she was working with.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then I had it in, I think I stole this from Bird. There's no requests. We don't accept requests for trainers.
Yeah.
It's like you get whoever's there that day.
Yeah.
And that always worked with us. We never had an issue.
So that's something I've thought about starting to do, and just say straight up, hey, look, to your point you said earlier, if I trust this coach and I bring this coach into our program, that means that I think they're going to do valuable sessions, right? Because so that's something I've thought about doing, not doing requests. So the biggest challenge with that has been giving our trainers a reasonable work schedule, a consistent work schedule. Because I found that when we were trying to rotate and change schedules every week, some of the trainers will be miserable, right? Because they'll feel like they're on call, like they wouldn't really be able to plan things out. Like one of my coaches, Coach Peyton, he's got a couple kids, that are like 2 years old now, and he's got to take care of them sometimes, right? And so he needs specific days while his girlfriend is working.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it'll be tough to change every single week, right? Because sometimes his girlfriend works evenings. So he works like a set amount of days, right? And then Irvin, who's my other trainer, he works a certain set amount of days. So I've almost sort of, I've understood that I have to make a compromise somewhere. Like the compromise is like, okay, well, you might have some of these kids work with these coaches consistently and kind of get attached to these coaches. But if that means that my trainers and coaches are happy and I can keep them around longer, and they can have a good experience and they can be positive while they're doing sessions, unfortunately we'll make that compromise, right? Maybe as Peyton's kids grow older and he can have more flexibility in his schedule, and same thing with Irvin, then yeah, maybe we can kind of go back to rotating. I think that's ideal, what you said. I think no request, make sure that we rotate. And if parents have feedback to give the trainers, they can always provide feedback or fill out a form. I think that's eventually what we want to move to. But for now, I know coach retention can be a very difficult thing. I don't know if that's something that you've very experienced with, because anyone can pretty much just start the program, right? So for a coach to want to stay here and work here, you have to offer a lot, And so what we offer, obviously, the main thing is our mission, the type of players that we get in here. We get some really high-level players, some great families here. We try to provide just a really good atmosphere and work area for them, and all the tools that they need and all the support that they need. Try to have a competitive pay, so that it makes way more sense to be here than to try to do something on their own, And so there's a lot more that I try to think about, to how to keep our guys happy and how to keep them having a purpose and how to keep them here, and yeah, so that's that's a challenge.
I always worried about if I hire them, but then what if they leave and start their own? And that kind of happens in the CrossFit community all the time, I guess.
Yes.
Right? And everybody just breaks off and does their own thing.
Yes.
And I was worried about that, but then I don't know, 4 years ago, I was like, wait a minute. If they work with me for a year or 2 years and they coach under me, there's going to be some things that they picked up from me that they're going to like and that they're going to take with them.
Yeah.
Boom. I made an impact.
Yeah.
And they're going to train kids that maybe I don't get to. So I kind of got rid of that in my ego as well. It's like, you know what? If they break off and do their own thing, good. So here, it's a soccer hotbed, and people don't realize it. And I brought it up for 10 years in Buffalo, and every single time I bring up Michigan, people get so mad at me. They're like, "Why don't you just go back to Michigan?" And I'm like, "I will." But so, like, there's enough soccer here to support multiple soccer training companies.
Yes.
It's insane how many kids are playing here.
Definitely.
Versus there, we only have one ECNL club.
Wow.
The MLS Next club is an hour and 20 minutes away.
Wow.
It's like everything is really a community club. There's not a lot of options. If you're a girl, if you're like a U13, U14 girl, you feel like you have to go to the ECNL club.
Correct.
It's kind of a monopoly. Whereas here, we have 3 ECNL clubs within 35 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
Then we have, and then what we have? Well, we have Jags, and then you have who else? Who else is in the GA here?
I think Midwest is now GA.
Midwest is GA, right?
And then there used to be MDA, Michigan Development Academy. I believe they're GA.
Yeah, and like over there, there's no options.
Correct.
There's no options.
Yeah.
So like,
You got Nationals, Hawks, Liverpool, ECN. You've got 3 ECNL programs, right? And you've got you've got Jags, Midwest, and then MDA. So there are a lot of options here, and it's like such a huge concentration of high quality clubs that kids can choose from.
and how many kids train with like you and Next Level? And I mean, people don't at least in Buffalo, kids are training with all of us. There's 10 technical trainers. There's more technical trainers than there are clubs. Let's just put it that way. So then the higher level players, they're training with every single person. And it's like, okay, good. I want more clubs.
Yeah. I
but-
think you're gonna see a lot of it's very similar here nowadays. A lot of kids that train with us, and then I see they're training with Next Level. Like some are going to Peak, some are going to Evolve training. I think a lot of parents understand like different voices sometimes can be very valuable, and different programs offer different things, right? So you see that a lot. Like you see that quite a bit.
Who's doing Evolve? That's
Joe Bashara.
Joe Bashara, that's right. So if a kid comes in here, let's say it's October 2025, and then in October 2026, where do your kids get the most improvement? If they're consistent in here, let's say once a week for a year, where does that? Have you been able to hone in on the like? This is what I'm really good at when I see kids improve.
I see. I'd say the thing that sets us apart the most actually is not even a technical area. I think awareness, speed of play. I think using those lights.
Okay.
And for processing speed, for them to like get in a habit of scanning their shoulders and making quicker decision and processing things quickly, that is usually the feedback that we get that is different from a lot of other places.
Okay.
So that's probably. I'd say starting out, it used to be what we did with the footwork, with the foot skills. Like we used to do a lot of footwork, right? And you'd have kids that will. That would just have like the fanciest feet and just have that ball attached to them. That is still very important. Mm-hmm. But from having done team coaching, we realized that awareness, decision making, speed of play, like that is a lot more important. But I would say that's what separates us, and that's what kids get out of this program that they usually don't get elsewhere. But we still focus on every major technical area. So kids that come here, they improve their first touches, they improve their striking, they improve their dribbling skills, right, and everything.
Right. I came a couple months ago. I started realizing that the one thing that the kids that I've worked with over the last 10 years, one, when I get them back from college and I realize how good technically they are. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I had a hand in that. Yeah. I don't think it wasn't just me. Yeah. But I had a hand in that. Yeah. The leading goal scorer for Nebraska right now has been with me every year for 10 years. Wow. And when I get her,
what's her name?
Ella Rudney.
Wow.
And when I get her in training, I just watch and I'm just so happy. Yeah. And it's fulfillment. Fulfilling. Another one is a captain at Cornell, Abby Bashara. And she, same thing, right foot, left foot. But what I've noticed is that, like, I close the skill gap, or I help players close the skill gap between their good foot and their weak foot.
Ooh,
As
that's a good one.
that closes, I think that's instant confidence for like a
Yes.
little kid. If you could just make your weak foot just a little bit better, you're going to be more confident because you're going to have more outs.
I agree. That's a very good point.
You know what
That's
I mean?
a very, very good
And
point.
you're going to be stronger on the ball. You're going to be able to use all the surfaces of both feet, not just always overcompensate to your weak foot, you know,
Yeah.
or your strong foot. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, especially as they get older as well, you know, and they're playing at that level. So I would say, kind of going back to your previous question, you know, what is an area that we normally feel is almost like the best bang for your buck? And I think it all depends on age groups. I'm sure you would agree with
Yep.
this. I think when we get the youngest kids in here and we can make sure that their footwork is good, that they can carry the ball at speed, right? They can change direction at speed. That's usually the focus for those younger kids, right? And once they're able to do that, they're like, dang, I can just go around defenders. This is awesome. You know, once you get to that second phase, like I don't want to use age groups here, but you know, like let's say 9 to 11-year-olds, and you teach them how to strike a ball with power, with both feet, like you said.
Yeah.
You can just see a dramatic change in their confidence, right? When we get to kids' high school ages and so forth, you know, what I mentioned earlier, the awareness, the decision making, the speed of play.
Yeah.
Once they increase that by like 10, 20%, like that makes a huge difference, and that really separates them from a lot of players that they're playing with.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about a little bit of the market here and the culture here, I guess. How supportive are clubs with you, and club trainers and club coaches?
We've been very fortunate. I think with our reputation, we've had a lot of support from clubs. As far as I know, you know, we had a local team here called the Warriors here in Waterford.
Oh, Waterford Warriors.
Waterford Warriors, and you know,
yeah.
I think they're called Warriors SC now, and you know, they've had a lot
Okay.
of success. They've been able to compete with bigger clubs, and you know, at
That
Evan,
was
the
my
directors.
biggest rival growing up.
Yeah. Okay.
'Cause I played at a smaller club, and like we hated the Waterford Warriors.
Yeah. So no, that now they've, you know, they recently won a state cup, you know, with the 2012 girls, and you know, they've improved. Yeah, there's you know, it is a very competitive club now, and I think a lot of teams, like especially they have like 3 or 4 age groups that are being very successful.
Okay.
You know, so they've brought their teams in here for technical training during the winter. Like, you know, they go from November to March. So that's been great. We get a lot of players from Liverpool, North Oakland. Obviously, it's a local team. But like we have like Coach Simone, for example, who he coaches the 2012 for Liverpool Central, and I think he coaches a couple other age groups. But his group will come here, and he'll usually, you know, he'll
Simone?
recommend his kid, Simone. Yeah.
Omakanda?
Omakanda, yeah, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
So he'll recommend a lot of kids, you know, here.
I want to get him on. I want to talk to him.
Yeah, I
someday.
can. We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
We'll make that happen. I'll it's just a message where he's
Because
a
Kevin
great guy.
Gardner, I used to play with Kevin Gardner at,
No way.
at Rochester College.
Oh no, you put it at Rochester College. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll text Simone after this. I'm sure he'll love to do it. And I'll tell him I had a lot of fun with this conversation.
I had
I'm
to
sure
play
he'll do it.
against him growing up.
Kevin?
No, Simone.
Simone, oh, I hear
ridiculous.
I hear crazy things.
Yeah, him and Nate Norman.
I'm always trying to, you know, to try to get him to lace his boots back on here, you know, because sometimes you have adults that come here, you know, like on Wednesday
pickup?
nights, Wednesday evening, yeah, for pickup,
Yeah.
and so hopefully one day I'll convince him. But yeah, club coaches are very supportive. Like we nationals, right? Even though they have an affiliation with Next Level, you know, their coaches will be good about, you know, about pushing the players here for individual training, for one-on-ones, for small groups, and even
Love it.
some whole teams come here. So we've had a lot of support, but I'm sure there's coaches out there that are insecure, you know, that we've seen, like they're just like, okay, well, what if?
Why do they need it? They have me.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, which, you know, and I can tell you, like, as someone that's coached a team, it's very difficult to go into the granular stuff that we go in here, like, and get the amount of reps and really being able to hone in on how a kid receives and has a proper body shape and has the proper weight with their touch, with their passes. It's hard because we want to focus on how we want to build up. We want to focus on how we want to restart. We want to focus on how we want to defend as a team when we're in a team environment, right? Like that's, you know, we might do like 10 to 15 minutes of like technical, but it's, you know, even with that, it's really not that focused and it's not that granular. So This makes a massive difference, you know, for the teams that do trust us with it, you know, because we're able to focus on technical training.
Right. And a parent went to their club coach and said, like, hey, why don't we work on like passing and more like the fundamentals and stuff like that? And the coach said, because I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Because we're too busy working on just teaching you guys the game. Go to playmaker, go to sharpshooter, go to evolution, go to next level if you wanted to like get individually better.
Yeah.
And that's just factually how it is. If you want to get better and really make an impact as a player, you have to be doing stuff with a technical trainer somewhere.
Definitely.
You can't just rely on your club training.
Definitely. I would say, I'd agree with that. I agree. A lot of coaches say, we expect you to work on your skills on your own or with a trainer. And then, when you're here with a team environment, we expect to make the team better. Now, obviously, our younger age groups,
of course,
you do think that coaches should be doing more technical and more individual work, right? A lot of 1v1s, like that sort of stuff. But even then, those coaches don't specialize in that, right? And they don't have the experience, right? Like to make the corrections that you and I might have because we have that experience. We've worked with so many players. But also, yeah, I agree. Like, players need to be doing extra training, whether like with a trainer, like with their friends in small groups, like on their own. I do think like that is massive, right? And to me, seeing a trainer is almost like seeing a tutor in school or like going to your professor's office hours. When you're in college, you understand how massive it is to have a study group and go to office hours, right? Like if you're just on your own, it's very difficult. I mean, you could still, do well, but it's a lot easier, it's a lot quicker, it's a lot more efficient to be part of a study group, to go to office hours, right? And to see people that, that have experience with what you're looking for. So that's the way I always try to lay it out to parents and kids. It's like, yeah, this takes a little more time to literally physically come here, and it's an investment. But what do you value, right? If you're someone that value and you want to really reach your potential, you want to do the best you can, you will invest the time and money, to come see people that know what they're doing,
right,
and have a track record of helping develop good players. But also, that doesn't mean that this should be the only thing that you do. You should also be spending some time on your own. You should also be watching the game. You should also be getting with your buddies and doing extra training,
Yeah.
So.
I've been doing some like parent consulting with parents from like all over the country. And there's this ECNL player in like North Carolina or South Carolina. And they said, well, the top 5 are kind of, and her daughter's in the top 5, and like the top 5 are separating from the rest of the group, and like the coach of the club isn't like really trying to close the skill gap, and it's just, and we're not competitive.
Tough. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what are those 5 doing? It's like, well, we go to a technical trainer in the area, and I go, okay, problem solved. Have the entire team go.
There you go.
Have the entire team go to the technical training, because if they're getting more of the technical development, take the entire team there, or
create small groups.
Because how I do it is I allow parents to make the groups, or if I'm working with a team, I have a parent in charge of that. So then I get away with, hey, I saw this group training, can I hop in that? I go, no, because we have a parent manager that takes care of that.
Yeah. I think people are pretty good about complaining, and really laying out problems. Mm-hmm. But when you lay out the solution, everyone's like, it costs too much money, it takes too much time, it's too far away. That's the society we live in, right? And the people that are having success, they're the ones that are, taking the time and investing the money and taking the step, right, to take action, So that's a good point that you're making about those 5 players, and that's why they're having more success.
Man. So when does the second location? I can't believe you already have a second location.
Yeah.
In 6 years, you have a second location, and it's bigger than this.
Yeah, it's going to be a mountain to climb. Obviously, you gotta, we have to sort of clean up the space right now. The couple of walls are in the way. Sure. It's an open space, but we've got to make sure the floor is all leveled up, the walls are cleaned up, and we put some fencing around some windows that are there. get the ceiling ready. And then obviously
Where is
get
it?
the turf. It's right around the corner, Dixie Highway in Walton. It's right across that McDonald that is there next to the Taco Bell. It's just a standalone building, so it's pretty cool. It's just a standalone building, so we can probably like.
Are you guys busting at the seams here, and like, or you want like multiple sessions going on at once and whatnot?
Yeah, no. It's just gonna be a separate place, and then we're gonna have multiple sessions, and we're hoping to have more team sessions, large group, and classes there, and maybe also some rentals and do speed and agility with different sports as well there. So that's Irvin. So Irvin is a certified trainer. So he's a big part of it. Right. So I actually brought Peyton and Irvin into the ownership group for the new facility. So that's really exciting. But yeah, we'll have that second location. It's going to be a lot more customizable, but it's a mountain to climb. We got to get the turf in there. It's very it's obviously expensive, so we're getting everything together for that.
Right.
And then so I was hoping by November 1st. I don't know if that's a realistic date. I think probably December 1st or middle of November is probably more realistic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really excited.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
A second facility.
Thank you.
Do you worry about how close it is to this one? Do you think that will affect anything?
We get that feedback from a lot of people, and that's my hope was that the next location would have been maybe in Novi. I know we have a lot of kids come from there. I play for the Hawks, and so that would have been ideal, right? Because two different markets, but oftentimes in winter or in summer or during busy times, literally every slot here is full.
It's crazy.
And to have a place where we can really reach out to teams and reach out to large groups and say, hey,
we also have this.
We have this consistently, and then we know we have this always for individuals, and we have that always for large groups and teams. I think that's gonna take care of itself really quickly.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, anything else? Anything else on that you want to cover or anything?
I think we might have covered this already, but I think just kids being in love with the game is massive.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean messing around during sessions but I think just really teaching them values, explain to them why it's important to build their skills, explain to them why they're training, and just help them find the fun in pushing themselves and developing their kids. That's massive. If kids are having fun and enjoying it, I think it makes it a lot easier for them to get better and to go further. Let's see. I think we've already covered sort of how we approach our sessions, right?
Yeah.
How we approach one-on-one sessions, right? Obviously focus on every major technical area, like ball mastery, dribbling, 1v1 skills, receiving, passing, shooting and finishing. So those are just some topics that I probably want to maybe touch a little bit on how we structure our small groups. I think to me those are my favorite types of session, what I think are actually the most effective sessions, really well matched small groups.
Yeah.
So we'll typically start, with some ball mastery pattern. I just to warm up and build and develop that coordination on the ball. Then we'll usually go into a low intensity passing pattern or functional pattern based on what we're working on. Then we'll go into a higher intensity pattern that maybe takes a bit more space and have more realistic distance for passes and dribbles.
Yeah.
So maybe one pattern might have a lot more balances and directional touches, right? And just a simple circuit, just a simple setup. Mm-hmm. But then our next functional circuit will take more space, right? We'll have longer passes, we'll have different types of turns, right? And we'll make it a little more game-like. Then we like to do what we call conditional games, right? Which are just overloaded games. Right? It could be a 2v1, or you have to dribble to a gate to score, make a pass to a gate to score, or you have to do this before you score. So conditional games I found to be really, really effective, right?
Yeah.
To just have some pressure, but also allow players to have a lot of success and a lot of repetitions at the same time. So that's been very effective. And then just unconditional games, just simple 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s, small-sided games.
Goals,
Yeah, partner juggling, sometimes we'll have them go to a wall and juggle together and get X amount, or say you have to use these surfaces.
Yep.
I think players working together and pushing each other, that we find that to be really, really effective.
Yeah.
So if a player wants to work on a specific skill, especially something mechanical, usually one-on-ones to me would be the most effective place to start.
Right.
Like if a player wants to improve their driven shots or their curve shots, or like being better using the left foot, right, or be more accurate with their passes, like I would say, okay, one-on-one, right, we can pause, we can take videos, like we can break things down, I can show you examples, with an iPad, we can go at your pace. That will be the most effective. And then eventually I'll say, okay, let's make sure that we progress into doing some small groups so you can do all this stuff under pressure.
Right.
So from a mechanical standpoint, one-on-ones are more effective. Or if a player is maybe really shy, or like is really trying to build their confidence or new to our program, one-on-ones are a really good place to start. All right. But eventually I'd like to get everyone into group sessions, right? Yep. Because I think you can do things under pressure. You still get a lot of reps. Usually it's a little more fun for kids as well.
Yeah.
So that's my take. I favor small groups. I think there's just a lot more energy as well. Irvin and Peyton are amazing with one-on-ones. They're just great having conversations.
Right.
Like they're great with banter. And for me, I'm okay. I'm decent with that. I'm as good as I need to be. But for me in small group, there's just that natural energy. There's just more like there's more options for conversations and things to discuss. So I like small groups a lot better.
Do you guys listen to music while you're training?
We do.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
I used to be so against it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, if I train and we don't have music, I hate it. I cannot not have music when I'm training.
It's almost like a little bit dry sometimes, right? Especially in a small environment like this. So obviously, like the obvious thing against that would be, okay, our players as focused or whatnot. So we try to play music, like we try not to blast it. It's in the background,
yes.
and it keeps the energy going. I think just players have like a higher output when there's music on. They'll push themselves a lot more, and they'll have a lot more fun with it.
And sometimes we'll be doing something and they're so slow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, can you do this to the beat of the music? It's like that's what they do in Brazil. Like they're banging the drums and stuff, and like, yeah.
I love that. I
Dude.
love that. I think that's probably the last thing I want to touch on.
How can everybody find you? I know on Instagram. Are you Evolution Soccer Training?
Evolution.soccer.training on Instagram. Our website is www.evolutionsoccertraining.net. We're here in Waterford, Michigan, and we're open afternoons, most afternoons and weekends. We're open all day.
Saturday and
Sunday. You can usually call the number.
What was your hours? 8 to 7? Did you do all those hours yourself?
Absolutely not. No, thankful.
Thank God. Oh my
God. I tell you in the
You're
beginning,
die.
I remember a day where I did 10 hours. Right? So like this was like during this was after the restrictions had been lifted on COVID.
Oh my
right?
God.
When we opened back up. However, people were still getting it, right? So one of my trainers like say, hey, Kev, like I can't come in today. I'm sick, and at the time, I think there were a couple of players that we canceled in a couple of times for different reasons, and I'm like, okay, I can't cancel on these guys again. They're gonna be pissed, like they're not gonna want. So I had to do just 10 straight hours. So I went to the gas station. I hope kids don't listen to this, but down a couple Monster Energies, and I was here 10 hours, really locked in. I actually thought those sessions all went very well, very energetic, and I crashed after. I think I must have slept for like 12 hours after. But yeah, that's the longest day I've ever done. 12 hours wouldn't, like the quality goes. I like to limit us to 6 hours at the most. I think 6 hour training is plenty. 5 to 6 hours to me is like the magic spot.
Yep. Yeah, it's so funny you say that because like 6 hours, and then when you train for 3 hours, you're like, that was the easiest thing ever. It's like,
yes.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, dude, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. This was a lot of fun.
Man.
I was very nervous about it, but I think you made me really comfortable. You had some really good questions, and I think that you can relate to pretty much everything I can relate. I think that helped a lot. So
yeah, and we have like so many common people that we know and like grew up with and whatever,
Yes.
It's like I coached at U of D before you were a player there.
That is
wild,
crazy.
Right?
That's crazy. The last thing I probably want to show you is a message from from a coach.
Okay.
A coach that was with us recently, and he got a full-time job. That just made a little more sense for him and his situation.
Yeah.
So I'll show you that text because that was very meaningful. Let's see. Lachlan. So he sent me this, I think on Friday it was.
I think you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Hey, Kev, I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for everything. Working at Evolution has been one of the most meaningful experiences I've had. It truly shaped me as a coach and as a person. Evolution will always be a huge part of me, and I'm so grateful for everything you've built and everything you stand for. Appreciate all you've done for me, man. I'd love to come in when I can and see you guys, maybe even help out.
Yeah,
Love it, dude.
yeah. Thank you. And it's just, that's what it's all about.
Thanks,
That's
brother.
what it's all about. So,
This
thanks
is
a lot,
awesome, man.
I appreciate
Appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate you.
Bye, everybody.
I hate soccer.